How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Fame. We are back with another FPL live stream. Apologies for the bit of technical difficulties at the beginning there. That's why I have two webcams, but maybe they got confused between each other. Maybe one of them's disconnected. I don't know. Not sure what happened. They literally both go into the same USB hub. Don't know what's going on there, but we'll work that out later. But yeah, good thing we have a backup. But yeah, we're going to take a look at all the different results that went on over the weekend as well as today. We're going to take a look at how my team did. Title of the video or title of the stream as well should say it all. The worst game week. This is literally the worst game week I have ever had points-wise. The lowest score I've had, with hits included, that I've ever amounted to in a single game week, which is not ideal. But we'll see what I did to change those plans, and it's very drastic, but we can go over the reasons why. So we'll also take a look at our clean sheet and differential picks, how we did there, as well as do ones for this week coming. And it is a double game week this week as well. Spurs are the only team for a double this week, but they play twice versus Everton away and Southampton at home. Two very good fixtures on paper. Everton at home not doing great, obviously, this season, and Southampton are just conceding goals left, right, and center. So probably Kane captaincy is going to be probably close to 200% effective ownership. I'm going to probably play the triple captaincy chip on him to make up for some other things that I may or may not have done. You may have seen some tweets that I put out, but yeah, I'll be able to explain them, my decisions. And when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that crazy when you actually think about it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Right. Yeah, I'm just confused as to why it's saying Logitech capture. I'm not really sure. Maybe that turned on randomly or something like that. How's it going, Mono? How's it going, Oliver? How's it going, Ben? How's it going, everybody in the chat? Fernandez Black, I think it's time for him to go. No, I don't think so. I think Fernandez is going to be a good pick for the next two, and probably won't be the most captain, so he's actually going to be able to get you points or get you rank rise if he gets points, because he's probably not going to be captained a lot versus Burnley at home. It's going to be Kane, because people are going to be like, oh, Kane has a double, Son has a double, captain them. And then same with the following week when they play Leeds, because I think that you know, Salah versus Newcastle or somebody like that will probably be better than Bruno away to Leeds, but he may be over 100% that week, but yeah, we will see. But yeah, some people, again, captaincy choice was pretty all over the place this week. Bruno didn't do well, Kane didn't do well, Vardy didn't do well. If you captained Iheanacho, then sure, that worked out probably for you quite nicely. Who else? Jota obviously didn't do well. Salah would have done good. Alonso was obviously in the bin. De Bruyne was in the bin. Gundogan would have been in the bin. So yeah, not ideal for most captaincy choices. The only real ones that probably did good was probably just Salah, to be honest. I don't think anyone else did what they were supposed to do realistically. That would have been like a normal captain. So like the big hitters, basically. Salah was, I think, the only one. Hey, Pilot, hope you're doing well. A sucky game week, yeah, but Iheanacho and TA saved my game week. Well, they definitely didn't save mine. They definitely did not save mine, because I didn't have them. But we will see who I have brought in preemptively, because I had to catch price changes, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do what I wanted to do. Semedo and Iheanacho saved my game week. Somebody in one of my mini leagues wanted to get Semedo. And he didn't end up doing it. And Semedo obviously came out with 9 points, which was quite nice for him. I believe it was 9 points anyway. But yeah, let's take a look at the team. So, getting the goalkeeper decision wrong, which is a bit unfortunate. Areola obviously conceding in the last minute. They should have conceded before that, because the offside call against Wolves was complete nonsense. The lines, like, they draw a line, and they drew a line right on top of it, and was like, yeah, he's offside. It's like, what are you talking about? The whole spirit of the offside rule was to make it so that when people were goal hanging, then you would rule it out, basically. That's what you were supposed to do when they're way offside. Some type of daylight. I think to make it easier, they should. I think I agree with some of the people on Twitter. Stephen Housen is someone on Stratford Paddock who's basically said this: do it from the feet, and if you can't discern a gap between the last 2 feet of the players, then it goes to the attacker. Basically, if there's no daylight in between the player's last foot, and the defender's foot, if there's no discernibility, then it's a goal. Basically, is what you say. So, like today, in the West Brom game, they had a different angle, which clearly showed that he was onside, but they weren't able to use their tool to draw a line straight down, which is just basically a fault in their system, and they stuck with the on-field decision. In the current stage, that's probably okay. But I would say that they should be able to use their brain and be like, he's close enough to where he's probably onside, let's just give it anyway. And it didn't hurt West Brom in the end, but yeah, it's a bit annoying. And Martinez got 4 points as expected. Just the dude's an absolute machine. I'm playing him versus Man City. He's gonna probably end up saving a penalty or something. It's doing a minus. It's doing a -4. Cresswell and Saka for Lingard and Kufal a good move. Seems good to me. Yeah. And I'll tell you why that is in a second. In my whole team that played 8 out of my 11 returned high, except Kane, Alonso, captain, and vice Iheanacho. Oh, Iheanacho on the bench. Yeah, that's a bit rough. But if you had 8 players score points for you this week, then that's quite good. I mean, if you look at my team, I only had 1 goal and 1 clean sheet point in the whole team. Everyone else got 2s or 1s or 0s. Really don't know what to do with my triple city Stones, Cancelo, Gundogan, keeper, sell. I think you gotta start getting rid of them, to be honest. I mean, for right now, I would say wait and see what happens in the Champions League, because if they get knocked out, then it's perfectly good to probably keep them, I would say. Because Pep will probably go strong in the league again. So, the West Brom goal was ruled offside, was total BS. Yeah, I agree. The explanation was that they didn't have a good camera angle. Yeah, because they couldn't draw the line down from basically the patch on his shoulder, which is what their fault line is, basically, whether he's on or off. But yeah. I had Lucas Moura on my bench, but he came in on for Vernon and gave me 5 points. That's not too bad. I saw a guy who, he... Basically, Dallas was 3rd sub on his bench, and he had Johnston, who saved a penalty today and got a clean sheet. He got like 4 saves or something like that. Both on his bench, right? But basically, he had a situation where he had 2 outfield players that didn't play and Diaz. So he got Dallas in, and he had Pope in his lineup who didn't play either, so he got Johnston in as well. So he got more points in those 2 players off his bench than I did in my entire team. Just think about that one. Got 77 this week, so delighted with wildcard and differentials from 160k to 88k rank. Feels good when you have to rank. I would say that is definitely a good one there. Oh yeah, continuing on with Team Cresswell, getting 0 again. West Ham conceding 2, and then he gets booked for just a stupid challenge. You know, Chelsea conceding 1 shot the entire game. It was a header and it went in, basically uncontested. So again, 2 points there. Shaw, didn't expect him to keep a clean sheet, but it ended up being Son who scored it, which was frustrating at the time as a United fan watching the game. But again, it is what it is. Son gets 5 points for a goal. Shaw loses 4 points for a clean sheet. So at the end of the day, I'm up 1 positive, so not really too mad there. Saka coming off injured, not great. Jota only getting 2 points, not great after having a few chances. Fernandes could have had an assist, maybe a goal. Lloris makes a good save. And his assist to Pogba, who kind of tried to backheel it, was then blocked. Kane, again, didn't really expect much there. Vardy was very frustrating, not involved. And Wilson to start on the bench, but him and St. Maximin coming on, rejuvenating the side to get them the win. But also Wilson not getting me anything is just a bit unlucky. And then obviously my highest point scorer apart from Son is on my bench with Aina, who came off before they conceded to keep a clean sheet. Team was solid, just unlucky. Yep, but we made some changes for the future. And it's definitely plural on that. If you have Bale, would you keep or sell him for the double game week? I would sell Bale. I don't see him playing from the start in either game. Everton has Richarlison or Digne that like to fly down his side. And Southampton have Theo Walcott / potentially like Danny Ings as like the left-sided striker. So yeah, I don't see Bale's a substitute player. Bale is literally Mourinho's. Oh, I better bring him on now because we're losing basically. And be happy, United were superb second half, and only versus Mourinho too. That was literally the only thing that was like good about this game week. Hello, 66 points. Strange, still a red arrow. Shouldn't have had a red arrow. It probably hasn't updated yet, Cherry. Usually it needs to update before you see the rank change. But yeah. Lingard is in my team now. It was only right. Lingardinho, yeah, I mean true. So I'm thinking I'm thinking the -4 bringing in Lingard and Kufal, but -8 for DCL. Out for Iheanacho. I would say just wait to see what the situation with DCL is. It could have been something minor. You know, and I would potentially keep him versus Spurs because Spurs defense isn't great versus the stuff in the air. But yeah. I see Neto as red flagged. Any options for future mid and opinions on Alonso? I would say just keep Alonso. If he gets benched, if he doesn't play again, because Chilwell will probably play in the Champions League, and then you can probably see Alonso playing versus Brighton. But if he gets benched again, then I would say then it's probably time to start shipping out Chelsea defenders because they only really have 2 good fixtures left, Fulham and Brighton. Everything else is a load of rubbish. But in terms of future mids, I would say if you don't have Lingard, I would say get him in. If you don't have Jota, get him in. If you don't have Son for the double game week, I would say get him in. If you don't have Salah, see if you can bring him in. That's what I would say. Was going to bring in Leicester defense, though not trusting in and loving Dallas may bring in early. Leicester defense, to be honest, I don't really trust it either. Because when Soyuncu's back, you could see Fofana dropping to the bench. You could see Amartey dropping to the bench. There's many different things that they can do. And Soyuncu's kind of expensive. I would say the only thing I would probably say is probably worth it maybe is Schmeichel in goal if you're looking to change Martinez out for somebody. But apart from that, I wouldn't go near it. And Dallas is doing well. And they have Liverpool next, so Dallas could be quite good. It's a shame that Dallas is going to be a midfielder next season, probably. Dallas is probably going to be a midfielder next season because basically the way position changes work is they check to see what position you are playing, mainly in the second half of the season and how frequent it was. And Dallas has played. Most likely it's going to be around like 2/3 midfield, 1/3 like fullback, wingback, which is going to put him as a midfielder. He's probably going to be like a 6.5 million midfielder next season, probably. I hope they keep him as a defender though, and they just make him more expensive. So like I hope that they like they keep Dallas as a defender knowing that he played out of position, but make him like 5'5", which would be quite expensive for a team that doesn't really keep clean sheets. He would literally just be there for their attacking returns, which is kind of basically what Digne is essentially. But yeah, Smith Rowe is ringing bells. Smith Rowe is quite cheap as well. Yeah. What transfers are you thinking about doing? We'll get to that in just a moment. But yeah, we'll do the predictions and stuff first, and then we'll see what I've done to my team. There's been some major reshuffling. I wish I had the sound file. Let me actually see if I can bring it up. But yeah, basically a lot of my players.
TV Claude, I'm going to ask you the same question.
It's time to go!
That's what I said to a lot of my players. It's time to go. Hopefully you all could hear that. Also, rest in peace, Claude. mentioned that on a previous stream, but yeah, that was one of his iconic moments. Yeah, damn, that was damn loud. Yeah, but you should have seen how loud I was getting at the TV screen. When that goal went against United and the goal was disallowed because Son apparently lost an eye or something. So yeah. Man United was a good game for me. Yeah, it was. I mean, Son got the only goal on my FPL team, which is nice. To get me actual points. But yeah, United winning was basically cured everything. Only Son reference. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good too. That was pretty good. And Jose was just like hook, line, and sinker. He just took the bait like an absolute, like, just... I just don't even know what to think of Jose. Like, he's not, like, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't literally not feed his kid because he was on the ground. It's obviously hyperbole. Like, he would be like, why are you doing that? And he'd probably scold him or something. But, yeah, it's just, yeah. Jose's finished. Like, Jose's finished. Like, maybe if he gets, like, a team where it's, like, a whole bunch of already established players. Like, I would be curious to see what Jose would do if he went back to Inter. Like, that would be interesting. Like, he could do probably similarly to what Conte kind of is doing. Like, Serie A is probably, like, where he needs to be. To be honest. Or maybe he goes back to Porto. Like, he needs to be at that underdog team. Like, you know. But, yeah. Be interesting to see. Alright, let's see our predictions here. So, this is what I posted over on Twitter. And yeah, if you don't know how our predictions work, basically, if you get the exact score right, so I predicted Wolves to win 1-0 over Fulham, I would have got 3 points. If I get the result right, so if I predicted Wolves a win, which I did, I predicted 2-1 and ended up being 1-0, you get 1 point. And if you get the result wrong, like I did Man City versus Leeds, I predicted City to win 3-1. They lost 2-1, which was probably the surprise of the week. You get no points. So, Spurs need a building coach. Yeah, they need like a Nagelsmann or a Graham Potter or somebody like that, probably. Liverpool versus Aston Villa. I predicted 3-1. It ended up being 2-1. Liverpool getting out of jail at the very last minute. Chelsea won 4-1. They really had their shooting boots on that day. Yeah, completely dominating Palace and then conceding one shot on target to ruin all our Chelsea clean sheets. So yeah, just a 1 point there. Newcastle versus Burnley. I predicted 1-1. Newcastle ended up edging it. 3 huge points for Steve Bruce's Magpies in the relegation battle. West Ham versus Leicester was 3-2, not 1-1, so I got that one wrong there as well. Man United was almost 2-1 until Mason Greenwood strike at the very last minute of the game, pretty much. So we get the 1 point there. Arsenal 2-0 over Sheffield United, ended up being 3-0, so we get 1 point for that as well. Southampton, I mean, they've just gone in the bin, basically. Not really too much to say there. Them getting absolutely trounced. So they should have lost 4-0 to West Brom, basically, which is just crazy. I mean, West Brom on fire. There's a very real chance. Like, I'm rooting for West Brom to go over Fulham now and over Newcastle. That would be insane. Imagine if Sam Allardyce pulls that off. Goes past Fulham, past Newcastle, and Sheffield United, Fulham, and Newcastle get relegated, and West Brom stay up. That would probably be the biggest save any manager's ever done for any team in relegation. It'd be crazy. So no points there on that one. And lastly, I predicted a 2-1 win for Everton over Brighton. It ended up being a draw. Clean sheet for Arsenal. Definitely Leno as well. Masuaku, I believe, got an assist. Did he get an assist? No, he didn't. It was actually Sufal. But he did look good, though. 0.4%, nothing there. Redmond, again, not really too much there. Chris Wood, I believe, got a assist for Vitra. He did. So, got a little return there. So, 3 out of 5 in the differentials. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points total on the differential points overall. I remember I said Lacazette. You did. I remember that. So, we got 1 less point from last week. So, we've had a lot of steady 7s, and now we're slowly declining with 6 and then 5 in back-to-back weeks, which isn't ideal. But yeah, the surprise of the week, West Brom versus Southampton, and And Leeds versus Man City. Nothing really more to say there. Those are probably not the bookies' favorites, I would say. And this week we got an extra fixture, and this type of game week is the most frustrating. And the reason it is because there's going to be a full day basically between most fixture or a couple of fixtures, which means you're going to have really high green arrows and really low red arrows for certain parts of the week. And it's probably best you just don't look at live FPL until basically the majority of the games have been played. Because, again, Everton versus Spurs, anyone who has Kane captained and he bangs, everyone's going to be on a green arrow or doing quite well. And those who don't are going to have a big red arrow. And then you have Saturday, where a lot of people have West Ham, the people that don't have Lingard or Wolves defense, maybe, they're going to get a red arrow from it. And then on Sunday, if you don't have Bruno, maybe, you're probably going to get a red arrow. And then on Monday, if you don't have Salah, you're probably going to get a red arrow. And you can see how the trend snowballs day by day. I'm not sure really why they've done this. I know why they've spread the fixtures out a little bit next week because of the... because of there's the Carabao Cup. Oh, it's the FA Cup. That's why they've done it. The FA Cup fixtures are this weekend. So that's why City play midweek, Chelsea basically play midweek, Leicester play on Thursday, and Southampton play on Wednesday. That's probably why they do it. But I mean, they could just they could have one FA Cup fixture on the Saturday, right? They could have an extra fixture on that Saturday. Let's say Liverpool Leeds could be on the Saturday if they wanted to, realistically. Everton Spurs doesn't have to necessarily be on the Friday. It could be on the Sunday if it wanted to. And then you could have basically four fixtures, and 2 FA Cup games on both those days. And then you have, let's say, Chelsea, Brighton play it like there's no games on the Monday, Chelsea, Brighton on the Tuesday. They could have done a little bit differently. But let's get to our predictions, and we'll see what you all are saying in the chat for those. Right. Everton versus Spurs. Possibly one of the better fixtures that Spurs could have in a double game week. Versus Everton at Goodison Park, who have been conceding goals at home. They lost Yerry Mina to yet another injury for him in today's game versus Brighton. Calvert-Lewin was not in the squad at all. Jordan Pickford is still out, although that's probably beneficial for them. And yeah, Carlo Ancelotti went to super negative, and had Brighton had any type of striker up front, they probably would have scored because they had 23 attempts on goal. And Oliver's going for a massive scoreline, 4-0. Hopefully those are all Kane if you're captaining him. Yeah. Could be quite interesting. I think Tottenham concede probably. I don't think Everton are that bad where they won't score versus Spurs, because Brighton's defense is better than Spurs. Let's be honest here. It has been statistically underperforming all season, and it's finally showing the fruits of its labor. But I think Everton definitely score versus Spurs. I think Spurs will probably make it cagey, but I see them getting 2 goals in this game and probably winning it. No problem. Hopefully they get those 2 goals, and then maybe they concede later on. But it is what it is on that front. Newcastle versus West Ham. Now, this is one where we want West Ham to potentially keep a clean sheet. Jesse Lingard, another goal or 2. That's what we're kind of looking for here. And we kind of thought to ourselves, could they do it last week against a tougher opponent with no Antonio? He was out. What could possibly happen here? If I'm going to predict score lines, it seems like 3-2 is like the West Ham score line. But maybe Newcastle aren't as good. So we'll have to see. I think West Ham should win the game. Oliver's going with a 2-2. Sherry says 3-1 West Ham. That's what I was going to go with. I think West Ham probably go up early, maybe by a couple of goals. Maybe they concede one, and then West Ham close it out and make it more comfortable in the grand scheme of things overall. Yeah, I just think it should be quite easy for West Ham. This game is the gimme, right? This is the one they need to win. It's next week. That's the tough one versus Chelsea. Wolves versus Sheffield United. Should be a Wolves clean sheet. should be a Wolves clean sheet. I don't expect Sheffield United to score. I also expect Wolves, even with Neto out, to still score. I'm probably just going to go 1-0. I just don't think that Wolves don't score in this game. It is Sheffield United, and I just don't think Sheffield United will score. I think Wolves keep a clean sheet, though. Sherry's going with the 0-0. Oliver's going with the 1-0 as well. So, yeah. I think it's just going to be a bit on the tricky side for Wolves, maybe, now that they don't have Neto. Apparently Neto's done for the season. He's out. But that's just what reports are saying. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. And it's not like Nuno's going to tell us anything in the press conference, because he often lies or doesn't say anything. So yeah. Arsenal versus Fulham. Arsenal are in a decent bit of form. I expect them to win this game. I think Fulham's defense has slowly retracted. I think they're going to pretty much do a similar job on Fulham like they did versus Sheffield United. I'm just going to go 2-0 though. I think that's probably a safe bet there, to be honest. 2-0 Fulham win. That'd be a good win for Fulham. That'd be a very good win for Fulham if that were to happen. But Fulham's weird. It's like they have brilliant moments of football, and then all of a sudden they just look like they belong in the Championship and being relegated from the Premier League. It's really weird. Rafinha or Soucek for Neto long term? Probably Rafinha, I would say, if you're going in that price bracket. But again, Rafinha picked up a knock, so I would say just wait on that one, on that front, just to be sure that Neto's out long term, and just to be sure that Rafinha isn't injured, because they're fighting for relegation. Yeah, you like to see the relegation teams, do good. I mean, it could come down to a situation where literally Newcastle and Fulham are 2 points away from each other, and Fulham winning would mean Newcastle get relegated on the last day of the season to the team that they just lost to, that type of thing. So, yeah. And Arsenal defense is not that good. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well. Man United versus Burnley. I mean, United should comfortably win this. I think United struggle a little bit against teams like Burnley, but I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. I agree with Sherry as well. I just think against Burnley, United should be winning 2-0. No, not really conceding against a team that's, not as good as them. And they should be somewhat rested from midweek, because they're up 2-0. They get 1 goal. The tie's over. Granada would need to score 4 goals in order to win. And from that point, you can just rest players. You don't need to play Rashford necessarily in the midweek game. You can play Bruno for the first 45 minutes, go out there, get a goal. Play Pogba maybe from the beginning. And then after that, you can take off Pogba, bring on Matic, take off Bruno, bring on Donny van der Beek, take off Cavani, put Mason through the middle. There's many different things that United could do. Leeds versus Liverpool. Now, this is going to be interesting because they're going to be coming off a midweek game versus Real Madrid, and then they have to play a very high-intense game versus Leeds. I think Leeds could cause Liverpool problems here, but I think Liverpool will just edge it because of the stylistic matchup that Liverpool like to have space in behind, and I think that Leeds will definitely give them that. Their man-marking system doesn't work against teams that have good individual players that can dribble past them. Maybe this is the game where Mane does well. Yeah, I think Liverpool probably win. I think Leeds get 1 though. I think Liverpool win 3-1. Sherry's gone 3-2 and Oliver has gone 2-1. Chelsea versus Brighton. I mean, surely a clean sheet for Chelsea. You would think. Should think it would be a clean sheet for Chelsea. Oh, what happened there? Everything just closed on me. I must have hit the little button on the side that closes everything in Windows. A bit unfortunate. I need this. Everyone probably saw my Endwalker background for Final Fantasy XIV. New patch tomorrow for Final Fantasy XIV players out there. But let's get back to fantasy. There we go. Right. Chelsea 2-0. Yeah, I think that's a pretty favorite scoreline. I mean, they don't have to do anything really in midweek. They have a big enough squad. I think they should be fine, Chelsea. I think they should be fine. Yeah, I mean, they showed against Palace just like they can cut them open. Havertz was really good. Pulisic was really good. Reece James, when he came on, was excellent. Chilwell was very good as well. And Kovacic and Conte did quite well against a team that just like teams that like to sit back. Kovacic and Conte, Kovacic and Jorginho do quite well. So I think that definitely benefited them. I think 2-0 is probably fine. A fine scoreline for them. Spurs versus Southampton. Now, I think this game could get ugly pretty quickly. Southampton conceding goals left and right. They're not really scoring up front, not really creating chances. I don't even think Southampton score in this game. I think Sherry's probably on the money there. I think 3-0, maybe 2-0 with a bunch of chances is probably likely. I'm going to go a little bit conservative. I'm going to go 2-0 just to be a little bit different. But I definitely think that Spurs could get out of hand really quickly in this one. The quality of Kane, Son, Bale if he plays, Lucas Moura, Ndombele, Lo Celso, these sorts of players can definitely cause Southampton problems. It just seems like their goalkeeper situation just seems just weird to me. They just don't really have a set goalkeeper, and Forster's mistake was terrible basically today versus West Brom by just blatantly fouling the guy. And also just without Romeu in the center of the park controlling things, they just don't seem to be working well at all. Aston Villa versus City. Maybe Aston Villa can get something from this game, but again, it depends on how midweek goes. If midweek goes well, then maybe Pep continues to play kind of a subpar team, but I would say don't take Aston Villa as lightly. They are a bit, they're not great up front. I probably think City still win it, though. I still think City probably keep a clean sheet. I think 2-0. They'll probably get back to their clean sheet ways, I think. 4-2 Aston Villa. Oliver really likes the differential predictions. 3-1 for Sherry. Is Grealish out? He is, I believe. I think Grealish is still out because he had a relapse and a flare-up in training, basically, on his... I think it was a fractured shin bone that he basically suffered, basically. I think I said basically twice there, but yeah. Yeah, basically he has a fractured shin bone, I think. Today's fixtures saved you. Yeah, I mean, for some people it did. For some people they were looking at Calvert-Lewin and saying, where is he? That's another thing. And then Leicester versus West Brom. I mean, come on. West Brom will probably score, but Leicester, if you want to stay in the top 4, you got to be winning this game. And Iheanacho has been on fire. I think Vardy, if given the space, can do damage as well. Digne plus Johnson got 21 points combined. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good score. Honestly, I think Leicester and West Brom, it could be a bit of a shootout. I'm going to edge it to Leicester. I'm going to go 3-2. Oliver's going for a 3-3, which would be quite interesting. But West Brom, don't count them out yet. 8 points may seem like a lot versus Newcastle, but in terms of how far they are behind. Win one game. Newcastle plays West Ham. They're probably going to lose that. West Brom maybe pick up a point. Maybe somehow get a win. Then you're only 5 points. Then it starts to look a little bit ropey for Newcastle. So we'll see. Newcastle's win versus Burnley was obviously great. But they don't have very many good fixtures left. So we will see on that front. Clean sheet this week. I think Man United versus Burnley. I think it's pretty straightforward there. Burnley's been a lot more open, and I think United punished that and can defend versus their nonsense, basically. Or at least should be able to. And Ashley Barnes isn't playing, who usually he's the one that burns us. So I think they should be fine. Goalkeeper this week. Differentials is kind of hard to pick for a goalkeeper. But I think the best goalkeeper this week is Lloris. 6.7% owned, has a double game week. What more can you ask there, I think? In defense, Reguilon, surprised he was only 3.9% owned. He's probably going to play both games. They don't have Europe. So he's probably going to play both games. I think Ben Davies, I think they said, was out until possibly the Euros. So they really can't play anyone else there. I think Reguilon has to play. 3.9% could be a good differential pick there. Some of you already have him on the wall card as well. In midfield, a lot of people are jumping on Jesse Lingard, but Bowen as well has been doing quite well. I think he got a goal and assist as well as the same amount of bonus points as Lingard. Only 2% owned, and with Antonio out, him and Lingard basically kind of have to, run the show effectively, and he could be a good differential there as well. And lastly, Cavani, 1.9% owned, again helping United to get the goals that they need. I think he's going to be the one in the Premier League now because Martial is potentially, obviously out for the season. And Cavani's the only other real striker that we have. I mean, Mason Greenwood's favored off the right at the moment and can sometimes play through the middle, but I think Solskjaer goes with his tried and tested. I don't think Cavani plays versus Granada. I think you probably see Mason Greenwood through the middle. Or something different there. And Cavani plays, in the Premier League exclusively. Unless we get to the final of the Europa League, in which case he'll play that as well, probably. So, yeah. What do you think? Do you think Maddison is going to play against West Brom because he's been out lately? Well, he was out this week gone because of the fact that he had disobeyed, basically. I think it was him, Chowdhury, and somebody else. I can't remember who the other player was. Basically went to some party when they shouldn't have been doing that. So whether he comes straight back in the team, I'm not so sure about that. So I would wait on that, personally. He was on the bench the previous game before he wasn't in the squad. Before he wasn't in the squad this week. So I would say wait and see on that one. I would say wait and see. If you're going to bring in a Leicester player, I would say if you don't have Vardy or Iheanacho, I would say one of those two. Probably Iheanacho just because of his form and price. So yeah. That's where I would go. Right, so that is the clean sheet and differential picks. We'll post that over on Twitter, so make sure to follow us over there as well. Now, I'm moving over to the transfer screen first, because this is what my team looked like before I made transfers on Sunday. So, the transfers I made on Sunday, and we'll go through them one by one. And basically I end up with 0.3 in the bank. So this was my team going into the end of Sunday's fixtures. So I had no players. I was 18 points all out. So basically I could take a look at my team and see what needs to be addressed. So I looked at it. First things that was catching my eye, Rafinha, potentially with a knock. He'll probably play next week, but again, doesn't have good fixtures in the short term. Liverpool could be good. Man United, not great. Could bring him in later. Burnley, Southampton, West Ham. Maybe something for the future. Saka went off injured. Looked like he was not happy at all. Arsenal have Fulham at home. Yeah, they could be good, but if they're going to rush him, they're going to rush him back and try to play him because they have significant injuries at the moment. And they'll need him to basically beat Slavia Prague if they want to progress in Europe, because if they don't progress in the Europa League, Mikel Arteta could be way under the cosh if that were to happen. So he was a concern. Cresswell, another one, holding the back of his knee / hamstring. Hamstring injuries just don't go away magically. So he was also a concern as well. And for someone that's played the amount of minutes that he does, 90 minutes basically every game, and then finally his hamstrings basically gave out. So he's going to be a concern. Other players, Jamie Vardy, not really getting what we want from him. Since I've had him, he's blanked every game week except for the Sheffield United game where he got 13 points, where he could have got way more. But Iheanacho's just outperforming him. So I think potentially a swap on that was on. Wilson brought him in as a 1 week punt, and now his fixtures are just kind of bad up until 36, and then 37, 38, they're fine. And maybe he does something crazy on the last day of the season, in which case I could just free hit him in or something fun. Maybe on the last day of the season, if I see my rank still bad or whatever, then then we free hit him on the last day of the season as kind of a fun punt. So, one of the major concerns was Cresswell. I thought I see hamstring injury. I'm thinking he's out pretty much immediately. So I acted on that, and I swapped him straight for Masuaku. Somebody who's gonna play game in, game out in David Moyes' system, and has been looking quite good. Has good fixtures as well. Can interchange him in place of Azpilicueta when his fixtures turn slightly, and can play him when Azpilicueta's fixtures aren't great. So like in 34, I believe Azpilicueta has Man City, I want to say. 35. He has Man City. Whereas Masuaku has Everton, which is probably slightly better. And he's just very cheap, 4.3 million. This is very cheap. The next player that I wanted to get rid of was Target, because of the fact that Martinez with the double up just doesn't make sense in the long term. I may not have Martinez for very much longer anyway. I'm probably going to have him for the next 3 game weeks or so. Maybe see where the double kind of lines up. And worst case, I can always free hit him in or something like that, maybe. Kufal is also a good shot as well, because I think he's 4.7 or something like that. How much is Kufal? 4.6. Yeah, so it's very close. I don't believe I had the funds to do it. I think it was like 0.1 off him. Otherwise, I would have potentially gone for him. So we brought in Connor Cody. Just is going to play every game for Wolves. Has some good fixtures. You know, Sheffield United, Burnley, those should be 2 clean sheets. Maybe not West Brom, now that the form that they're in. But you would like to think that fixture is quite good. Brighton at home could be good as well. Has a rough few at the end of the season. But again, he's only 4.8. Don't really have to invest too much in him to be looking at the clean sheets. And he has a little bit more set piece threat. Would I have liked to get rid of Aina and Areola? Maybe, but they're just going to be bench fodder and just stay there, and they're not going to get, like, last week was a bit of an anomaly in terms of that. So as you can see now, I've already taken a -4. But this whole plan was basically to bring in this man, Mohamed Salah. So Mohamed Salah was coming in, and he was somebody that I couldn't look past this week, because of the fact that his fixtures are so good. I cannot rely on Jota to potentially start game in, game out, and it seems like they link up quite well, so getting the double up on them early before things get out of hand is quite good. So we'll see on that front. But I think Salah for the run-in is almost mandatory. Another -8. Oh, how naive. How naive you are. -8. That would be too little. That would be just a small amount of hits. So far, the amount of players that we've brought in is Masuaku for Cresswell, Cody for Target, and Salah for Saka. Well, you must be thinking, well, how did you manage to go 7 million up the other way? It's not possible. Well, I had to get rid of Jamie Vardy. And to do that, I brought in Kelechi Iheanacho for a -12. Kelechi Iheanacho has obviously been doing quite well. Been taking a lot of the goals away from Vardy. Is the goal scorer. And has been quite clinical. So we brought him in. And he is somebody that is... just too cheap and too good to ignore. Target double game week incoming. That's also possible as well. Like I said, we can always bring... I don't really want an Aston Villa... Like, let's say, where are they most likely to double? 35, probably. Man United at home and Everton at home. Not really looking at defense there. Martinez, probably, but... I wouldn't say a double up on that. I'd rather go with a Grealish if he's fit, a Watkins, or somebody like that. But we didn't stop there. So far we've done Masuaku, Salah for a free, Masuaku for a -4, Cody for a -8, Iheanacho for a -12. And yes, I've already made these moves. I'm just restoring them. I made these moves yesterday. And I had to do it because of potential price changes, which would have priced me out. I only had like 0.1 or 0.2 to play with. Either side. So like if one player went up, one player went down, I would have been either priced out or it would have been like 0.0 left. So Rafinha, we had to bring in Jesse Lingard. And that is mainly because of the fact that he's just been doing so well. He's outperforming his stats tremendously. And I can't ignore him for any longer. And then to get that little last bit of funds in order to basically make up for that, the last transfer was Vidra for Callum Wilson. It's never ending. We're gonna hit a -20 soon. Oh, but we did. We made 6 transfers for game week 32. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 -20. So your math was correct, Ben. And here's my reasoning. So I'm gonna bring up the notepad again, so we can look visually at what the transfers basically are. Are these transfers for 32 or wildcard? It's not a wildcard. These are transfers and hits. I understood the hits. Does it reduce your total points or just the players individually? It reduces your total points. So if your score is 1,000, and then if you take a hit of -4, you start the game week with 996. And for every additional one, it goes down by 4. I'm new to FPL, but is this sound? No, it is not. However, this is my reasoning for it. So, if we look at, I'm gonna break it down and I'm gonna show you my logic, and you guys in the chat are gonna tell me if it makes sense. So, Sherry, who's been new to FPL, I would not recommend this at all. I would not recommend it at all. But if we look in isolation, so we had 2 defenders. We had Cresswell, who we got rid of, and we got Target. We got rid of Target. We got rid of Rafinha, and we got rid of Saka. And then we got rid of Wilson, and we got rid of Vardy. And those were for Masuaku and Cody. Yeah, this is definitely a don't try this at home, kids. This is Pilot Flame has a not necessarily very great rank at this point in the season. I'm rolling the dice extremely difficult right now. This is a don't try this at home. For Lingard. Vidra. Nacho. So yeah, this is what the team currently looks like. So you'll be able to see that in just a second. I was sweating -4. Yeah, don't worry. This is something that it will math out. Trust me. I'll show you. If things go right. And if they get injured, then what? Well, the players we brought in, Masuaku doesn't play in Europe. So unless he gets injured in training, then it's, you know, that's something I can't control. Connor Cody plays for Wolves, doesn't play in Europe, and doesn't have an FA Cup game either. No problems there. Salah, okay, he plays midweek, but if he gets injured, then he's injured for everybody. Cool, I'll deal with it next week and just bench him. I wouldn't mind playing Masuaku versus Newcastle away. It's fine. Lingard doesn't have a fixture this week, doesn't play FA Cup either. It's fine. Vidra, again, same situation. Iheanacho They have an FA Cup game. Will he play? Possibly. Could he get injured? Possibly. But if he gets injured, again, I can just bench him. Play somebody else. It's not the end of the world. But the likelihood of that, again, if they get injured, they get injured. I'll have to deal with it. That's one of the risks I'm taking. But 4 out of the 6 players that we brought in, they don't play any games up until their next game, basically. They don't play any European games apart from Salah and Iheanacho. Iheanacho has a FA Cup game versus Southampton, which they may be able to get away with a slightly rotated team. And Salah plays Real Madrid, so he's going to play anyway, because Salah can play anyway. So we'll see. But if we look at the transfers individually, so Cresswell, so players that were actually injured during this game week. Cresswell was injured. Rafinha was injured. Saka was injured. So 3 players right off the bat were injured. Whether they're slight knocks or not, Saka didn't look good. Cresswell didn't look good. So that may have been 2 transfers that were taking out anyway. Target, somebody who doesn't have good fixtures long term, and even if he does have a double, it's probably not a great double. Wilson was a 1-week punt. I'd be happy to get him out regardless. And then Vardy the Iheanacho was the make way, and the was kind of the way for me to get Salah. So basically the plan was basically get Salah and Lingard. Funds come from Vardy. Let me make this bigger. There we go. That was basically the plan. So in order to do that, I had to get rid of Vardy. I downgraded Wilson to get a little bit extra cash because Vidra was playing. Iheanacho was just the obvious replacement for Vardy. Lingard came in for Saka, who was injured. Salah came in for Rafinha, which was the only other midfielder I was looking to get rid of because my other 3 midfielders is Jota, Son, and Fernandes. And then Cresswell was injured, so I just replaced him with an equivalent West Ham defender. And Target was an easy downgrade for Cody to get that little bit extra money that I needed, basically. Haven't you thought of Cavani or Lacazette? They're good shouts. They are. I considered them. But again, I went with sure bets here. Masuaku's going to play. Cody is going to play. Salah's going to play. Lingard's going to play. Vidra is mostly going to play, but don't really need to rely on him as heavily. And Iheanacho is going to play because of the form that the players that they're in. If I do DCL to Iheanacho, I will... 0.1, do I risk it now or wait? I would say just wait, because Calvert-Lewin, it could have been like he had a kid or something. Who knows? I'm not saying that's the case, but it could be. It could be. If you can wait on it, you can. I couldn't wait, personally. If you have plenty of funds in the bank and it doesn't affect you long term, then I would say wait. For me, I couldn't. I was 0.2, 0.1 off, something like that, so I had to do it. So overall, it's a minus 20. However, on a wild card, normally you get these transfers for free. So basically, that's a minus 4. This transfer makes a minus 8, so this one was free. So free, second transfer minus 4, third transfer minus 8, fourth minus 12. 5th minus 16, and 6th is a minus 20. I only have 0.1 funds in the bank, then maybe you have to go early then. Maybe, and just risk it. Again, that's one of those situations where if you need him, if you want him, then you risk it. So, next week, Kane has a double game week. So, bearing this in mind, Kane has a double game week. Versus Everton away and Southampton at home. For those that are new to FPL or know about the chips, there's a chip called the Triple Captaincy chip. You can use it once a season. I have not used mine yet. Basically, if your captain scores, let's say 10 points, a Triple Captaincy chip, normally the captaincy, so if you captain somebody, they would get 20 points. If you triple captain them, they get 30 points. Obviously, you can only use the Triple Captaincy once. I still have mine. So let's say, hypothetically, in these 2 games, what would be a good outcome for Kane? Probably a goal in each game. A goal in each game, and Kane gets 3 bonus points, is 9 points per game. So 9 points times 2 is 18 points. So if I were to triple captain him, the total amount of points I would get for Kane would be 54 points. But the triple captaincy point would be worth this amount. So people say, oh, well, let's like, as an example, last week, Bruno Fernandes captained got me 4 points. But the actual captaincy only got me 2. Right? So if I had triple captained him, he would have got 6 total. But the triple captaincy chip would have still only got me 2 points, if you see what I'm saying. By giving somebody the armband, you just duplicate the points that you get, which is how much the captaincy was valued at. So had I captained Son, I would have got an additional 7 points from him, minus the 2 points I didn't get from Fernandes, so I would have netted 5 extra points had I captained Son over Fernandes. That's basically the math on it. So that's how you have to see how the triple captaincy chip is basically kind of valued. So, if Kane were to do that, and get a goal both games and 3 bonus points, let's say, which is definitely possible. Everton have been quite bad at home, and Southampton have been conceding, almost should have conceded 4 goals to West Brom. Kane gets 18 points. Well, if I took 20 points and hits, that means overall, if we do the math, minus 20 plus 18 from the triple captain means basically I only have a minus 2. Can players go up by 0.2 in a week? Yes, they can. They can go up by 0.3. Good night, Mono. There's no limit, I think, to how much they can go up by. But once they go up, they have to basically reset, and there's another... They have to basically... So many extra transfers will then make them go up again. So, yeah. So that's my thinking. Basically, in a sense, assuming Kane scores 18 points, I would have basically played a wild card that kind of cost me 2 points. Pretty much. Or at least kind of a wild card. And even if you think about, let's say, Kane plays... Kane is going to play both games, assuming he doesn't get injured. And he's going to get at least 60 minutes in both of them. Assuming he doesn't get injured, obviously. He would then basically net me with the triple captaincy chip, because everyone's going to captain him anyway. He would net me 4 points. So it would basically, he automatically, by the start of this week, he automatically alleviates one of my hits. Kind of. Because of my triple captaincy chip. So assuming Kane plays both games and gets 60 minutes in both, at a bare minimum, Kane will get me 12 points with the triple captaincy on him. But if he gets a goal and no bonus points, that's another hit taken off. Another goal, that's another hit taken off. So if he gets a goal in each and some bonus points, which strikers tend to do, I can lose these points very quickly. And then I'm basically on even ground, and I go into this week effectively with no hits. So, Sherry says, okay, I see your reasoning. That's kind of the reasoning, yeah. So, assuming that Kane does well this week and gets a goal in each game and maybe an assist or some bonus points or something like that, Kane can very easily get 15 points across 2 games. I think a goal in one game and a bonus point or 2, an assist in the other game, and even let's even say that. Let's even go something even basic, even more basic. Let's say Kane gets a goal but no bonus points, which is 6 points, and then he gets an assist, which is with no bonus points, assuming he doesn't get booked. That's 11 points. So I basically go into this week with basically only taking 2 hits, really. I know it's -9, which is 1 point more, but I would basically go into this week as if I took a -8. But I was able to restructure some things. I was able to get in Salah. I was able to get in Lingard. And that's not really too much to ask from Kane. A return in each game, 1 goal, 1 assist. I mean, he can definitely do it versus Everton and Southampton. I mean, if we've seen, what has he done? What did he do versus Everton the last time they played him? They played him in the first game week of the season, and Spurs were dreadful. And then they played Southampton, and he got 4 assists and a goal. You have super low lows and super high highs. I mean, if Kane has one of these weeks, a 13-pointer, a 12-pointer, like even a 12-pointer right off the bat versus Everton. I mean, if he gets a 12-pointer and then blanks and a 2-pointer, you're looking at 14 points. 14 points here means I'm only 6 points in the hole, so I'm a hit and a half. It's not even that bad when you think about it. So it's just a matter of if Kane does well. Kane doesn't do well, then it's probably not worth it. But basically, I'm using my triple captaincy chip in the event that Kane does do well. It basically acts like a wild card, except I have less transfers for it, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. So that was the whole reason. And I could only do this combination. So basically, I had to go slightly down from target to get Cody. I had to go down to a very cheap defender like Masuaku. And had to get rid of Cresswell, who was one of my most expensive defenders. It was either him or Azpilicueta, and obviously Cresswell looked injured. To get Salah, Rafinha and Saka had to go if I wanted to bring in Salah and Lingard, because they're the 2 midfielders I wanted to get rid of. Vidra alleviated a lot of funds from Wilson, and then Vardy Iheanacho is just a natural downgrade. So that is basically the whole spiel, as it were. So I hope you were able to follow along somewhat, because it may have been complicated. But yeah, it is a massive roll of the dice. Logically, it makes sense. You may think, oh, it's minus 20 points. It's a lot of points, and that is a lot of points. Basically, the hit I just took, I took off the points I got this week gone. All of them gone out the window. However, if you look at the team on paper, this is what the team looks like. Martinez in goal. A lot of people still have Martinez. Azpilicueta's a Chelsea defender. Shaw's got Burnley at home. Cody's got Sheffield United at home. We got Lingard, Jota, Salah, Fernandes, and Son. Probably the best midfield everyone's going to be looking to get this week. And then Iheanacho and Kane. Arguably the 2 best strikers or 2 best forwards in the game. So basically I went from super differential to super template. If I look at my team this week on Live FPL, great resource if you haven't used it already, but livefpl.net. Basically, you could check your where your rank is, and if you have a green arrow, red arrow, during games and that sort of stuff. But it can also show you the percentage ownership of your players and which players are differentials and that sort of stuff. And my team last week was a template rating. So basically, if your team was 100% template rating, that means you have the team that is most owned effectively by across all players on average. So like Martinez is probably the most highly owned goalkeeper in the game. So he would be like the template goalkeeper, as it were. Kane is another one. Fernandes is probably another one. And that stems from how owned the player is. So like Fernandes is really highly owned. Kane, really highly owned. Martinez, really highly owned. Salah, getting there. Jesse Lingard is starting to get there as well. Son is way up there. Jota's starting to get there. Iheanacho's just breached 10%. Cody's still low owned. Shaw, I think, is still not as bad. Same with Azpilicueta. But yeah, that is the risk. That is the risk. And like I said, one of those players gets injured, everyone has him basically. I would just put in Masuaku, who is a massive differential. I would like to play Masuaku this week, but I can't. I'd rather play the other three. I think Masuaku is more likely to concede because of West Ham's just shakiness and Cresswell not playing. And he's also cheap, and I'd rather put the Cody, the more expensive defender, with the better fixture, the home fixture, ahead of him. And earlier this season, they beat Sheffield United anyway, 2-0, so. Live FPL won't show my rank, keeps asking for ID. Okay, so for those that are new in the chat, so Sherry, I know you just joined. So the way to check your ID is, if you follow me, you go on FPL site, you hit points. If you check up in the URL, so where where it says Fantasy Premier League, fantasy.premierleague.com/entry/ then there's a number. That number is your ID. So it'll look like this. So it'd be fantasy.premierleague.com/entry/ some number /event/ and then whatever the game week number is. You want the number where the question marks are. So that number could be 1, literally the number 1, all the way up until 8,177,907. Because that's the number of players there are. So your ID number is based on when you created your team initially, basically. That's what it is. So a lot of people like to get low ID numbers. They like to create their team really quickly and, you know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that number where the question marks are on that link that I posted, that's where your number should be. If you go on the points tab and then look for that number. So yeah, that's how you check your live FPL. So that'll show you your points during the week. It'll show you effective ownership in terms of how owned a player is. So ownership of a player is percentage ownership of a player. It's pretty straightforward. How many players, how many managers in the game own that player? Effective ownership is how many players own that player plus captaincy. So, as an example, if everyone in the game owned Harry Kane would be 100% ownership. If everyone in the game owned Harry Kane and half of them captained him, he would be 150% ownership. If half the league owned Harry Kane, 50%, and half of them captained him, his effective ownership would be 75%. So it'd be 50 plus half that percent, which is 75. I think that math's right. So the most effective ownership somebody can be is 200, because 100% of the league can own him and 100% can captain him. Is 53 points a good enough lead in a mini league? I would say that's a pretty good lead. That's a pretty good lead. Depending on chips. Now, if you know you're going to get somebody, if you have a 53-point lead but you have no chips left and they have bench boost, triple captain, and their wild card still left, then it can be, you know, they can make that up very easily. I made up in one of my mini leagues last season, in the final like 10 to 8 game weeks, I made up like 120 points, something like that. Or was it the season before when I started late? Can't remember. But it was basically I made up a lot of points, and it was like the bench boost and that sort of stuff, triple captain. But I started late that season, so in terms of like when we counted it from, like when I started, that's when we started like counting the points. But yeah. So yeah, that is the team. So we got Martinez in goal, Azpilicueta, Shaw, Cody, Lingard, Jota, Salah, Fernandez, Son with the vice captaincy, Iheanacho, and Kane with the triple captaincy, the armband with Areola, Masuaku, Vidra, and Aina on the bench. And like I said, if Kane gets 20 points this week, I break even, and the triple captaincy paid off for itself because everyone else is going to captain him. And yeah, should be quite good. So hoping that Kane goes absolutely ballistic, because if he does, then he pays off from my points hit, and then I basically use the triple captaincy as kind of a wild card in a sense. But that's assuming that he gets the points. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I will be back with a few videos for this week. So yeah, let's move over to the big screen and talk about that. So yeah, I will be back. I'll have a video out tomorrow. I think I said I was going to do Pep Roulette, but I think I'm going to change that actually. Let's see. What did I say? What videos we were doing? Just gonna double check that. Preview stream. Oh no, it's Captaincy tomorrow. So Captaincy tomorrow. On Wednesday, I said I was gonna do Pep Roulette, but I think I might change that to a new series I like to call Highs and Lows. And it's basically gonna look at players that have done well and then have a high number of transfers in, and players that haven't done well and have a high number of transfers out, and what I think of them. So as an example, Jesse Lingard and Iheanacho would be the two players I'd probably put on it this week. And for outs could be Jamie Vardy and maybe Fernandez or something like that. We'll see. I'll basically go and check on the FPL website. On the homepage, see who's being transferred in now. Then we have the lineup, so I'll be basically explaining what I explained on stream here as for the number of transfers I've taken and that sort of stuff, and as to why. And then we have the deadline stream, so I'll be back on Friday, 1 hour before deadline, so that's 12:30 p.m. EST. Another Friday deadline for Game Week 32, so make sure to have your team set. It's 2:30 my time, which is 1:30 p.m. EST, or 6:30 p.m. UK time. So make sure to have your team set by then. But yeah, check out the videos, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're over on YouTube and you're seeing this, make sure to come check us out for the live streams over on Twitch. And yeah, bring your questions. So yeah, the next one, there's usually a pinned comment down below on the YouTube video VOD for this to say when our next stream is. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.